What's up, you guys? It's the Wrestling Old Head. You have entered the portal of pro wrestling, and right now I'm going to break down possible entrants in the 2025 Royal Rumble like a shotgun. We're going to break it down. This is one of the most exciting points of the year for the WWE and for me as a wrestling fan, specifically a WWE fan. I remember as a kid watching from everyone from Mean Gene Okerlund to Todd Pettengill run down the Royal Rumble report and finding out the entrants, surprise entrants, every week on WWF Superstars or WWF Mania, there was some sort of a report that listed a new entrant in the Royal Rumble, and the music and the theme and sometimes it was a beach vibe. You had this old school Beach Boys theme playing in the background. It was something that always excited me about the Royal Rumble. And I remember the first Royal Rumble that I ever watched was the 1990 Royal Rumble. I went back and watched the subsequent previous Royal Rumbles like 89, and I think I watched 88. Even though I don't really remember it off the top of my head. But then 91 and 92 being one of the best Royal Rumbles I had ever seen up to a certain point. So I'm well versed in the idea of the Royal Rumble. Very excited about it. It's amazing that they've been able to keep it as innovative as they can, given the structure and what they kind of work with. They've gone from 60-second intervals to 90-second intervals. Just the whole idea. I think they had the greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. So one of the biggest predictions I've had in 2025 or for 2025 as the year has begun is that I believe that we're going to go for a 2-night Royal Rumble at some point. I'm not sure if they're going to do it in Saudi Arabia. It would be gutsy to do one night where the main event is the Women's Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. I know they're going to Saudi Arabia next year, 2026 Royal Rumble. I don't know. Things are changing in Saudi Arabia. I'm not going to get into the politics of it all or whatever, but I am going to say that if they do decide to do a 2-night Royal Rumble, I would think, with night 1 being the Women's Royal Rumble and night 2 being the Men's Royal Rumble, that they would start it at sometime in 2027. But don't be surprised if you start to hear about the rumblings of that coming up pretty soon. I can go back. I don't have the clip available, but for the 83 Weeks podcast with Eric Bischoff, I posed the question to Eric Bischoff and Mr. Bully Ray, and I asked them if they think that SummerSlam and the Royal Rumble would join, and I think I said Survivor Series would join WrestleMania in going 2 nights. This was about 2 years ago. We're already getting a 2-night SummerSlam. We're about to get a 2-night Royal Rumble. And I don't know about Survivor Series. I don't know if it kind of falls into that category. I wouldn't mind seeing a 2-night Money in the Bank. And I believe Bully Ray at the time said that, it dilutes the feeling, the excitement, the experience of WrestleMania. And I totally understand where he's coming from. You got split rosters. You've got huge incentives on what's at stake here, right? So you've got implications on future championships, title shots. You've got the Money in the Bank briefcase. You've got a shot going to WrestleMania. You've got the biggest extravaganza of the summer, and then you've got the granddaddy of them all in WrestleMania. I believe all 4 of those can be argued as 2-night events, specifically because you've got the Men's Royal Rumble, the Women's Royal Rumble, and you've got the Women's Money in the Bank and the Men's Money in the Bank. And then you've got the 2 big events that kind of, bookmark those events as well. So you got SummerSlam and WrestleMania. So I don't know. It could go either way, but I'm just saying that right now before we get into the entrants that I have listed as potentially an announcement coming from the Royal Rumble about a potential 2-night Royal Rumble. It might not happen this year. It might happen at the beginning of next year, but it is coming soon. It just makes so much sense because you've got 2 Royal Rumbles that go about an hour and you only have time for about 2 or 3 other matches. And as swollen as the WWE's roster continues to get, all this potential talent that floats around, you've got the deals with TNA. You've got the deals with Pro Wrestling Noah. You've got so much going on that I think it is in the best interest of the WWE to toy with having a main event night 1 being one women's Royal Rumble and main event night 2 being the men's Royal Rumble. Just thought it made sense to me when I started hearing them going to 2 nights for their extravaganzas. Now we're going to get into the entrance, okay? Now, I'm not going to try and predict where they come out at. I'm not going to fantasy cook too much here. I'm thinking about doing fantasy cooking, where I just start talking about like fantasy booking ideas, or maybe some stuff that I do with wrestling simulators and fantasy booking and stuff like that. I'm really considering doing that. I was supposed to do this prediction for the 2025 Royal Rumble about a month ago, and I'm going to be honest with you, I was just so slammed at work and just doing like other extracurricular stuff like editing videos for this channel that I just forgot. I'm going to keep it a buck with you guys. So now you're getting it, and it's kind of close to the event itself. Royal Rumble 2025, Lucas Oil Stadium. And so I'm doing this before Monday, just so you know. So Raw is going to be coming up, and this is the second episode of Raw on Netflix. And so that's when I'm recording this. So I know there's going to be some sort of build up to the Royal Rumble. I have no idea who Gunther is going to wrestle. I know that we so far have had CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and John Cena declare that they're going to be in the Royal Rumble itself. So we do know that. And pretty soon, right now I'm going to just do the men's. But there is going to be another video where I discuss the women's Royal Rumble, because I think the women's Royal Rumble is where you're going to see a lot of surprises. Now, thinking this list out, I started to go back to the 2024 Royal Rumble, which was one of the first Royal Rumbles, if not the first Royal Rumble that Paul Levesque was in charge of. One thing that I noticed about the 2024 Royal Rumble, the entrants all started to make sense. There was a reason for them all. There was a lot of story progression, with Finn Balor and Damian Priest and Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods and Logan Paul and there was and Ricochet, and there was these. It seemed like there was a reason for everyone to be in there. It didn't seem just randomized, and I believe we're going to continue that. There is going to be a reason why these superstars show up in the Royal Rumble. I started to think in my head of all of these fantasy ideas of who would show up. Like I was thinking, oh man, Ric Flair, Tatsumi Fujinami. Tatsumi Fujinami, a Japanese wrestling legend. I think he's like the same age as Ric Flair. If those two entered the Royal Rumble, how epic would that be? A Flair and Fujinami like confrontation in the middle of the ring. I started to think of like Bully Ray showing up, or Jack Morris, who just won the tag team championships with Omos in Japan. Jack Morris, look for this guy, a hell of a talent, being compared to Drew McIntyre when he first came into the WWE. Just a load of talent already, and could be huge. Imagine him showing up in the Royal Rumble. Imagine Naomichi Marufuji showing up in the Royal Rumble, a wrestler that battled AJ Styles in a cross-promotional match that just happened recently in Noah, Pro Wrestling Noah. Jake Lee, another Noah talent that's huge. That could easily show up and the crowd could go wild. I was thinking on the TNA side, Joe Hendry, Nick Nemeth coming in, maybe even Moose. One thing that I definitely did not see last year was a whole lot of those surprises on the men's side. Those surprises were mostly for the women's side. So for the men's side, I felt that they utilized the talent that they already had, which I appreciated. So I had the list, and I was kind of going off that idea from the 2024 Royal Rumble. I will say some honorable mentions, however. I have faith that Bully Ray might show up, okay? I also have faith that we might see Pat McAfee again try to enter the Royal Rumble, because he is the pseudo Jerry the King Lawler of the WWE commentators section, where he can get in the ring and wrestle if he so chooses. And he has shown himself to be an immense talent in professional wrestling, so it's possible that he can do it. I also, on the honorable mention side, want to mention Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny showing up as a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble would also be something that I would keep in the back of my mind. We have not seen him since his match with Damian Priest, It would be interesting if he was one of the surprise entrants. Also, Dragon Lee and Javon Evans. Javon Evans, a.k.a. Jay Malachi, I think that's how you said his name in Deadlock Pro Wrestling. I believe it was Malachi. An immense talent. Could be one of the youngest entrants to enter into the Royal Rumble from the NXT brand. So I wouldn't be surprised if he were to show up. Plus, he can do some athletic things in the Royal Rumble to really set himself apart from the NXT roster and set himself up for success upon bridging and going into the WWE. So I would look for those. As it stands, I really just kept it to the main WWE rosters of SmackDown and Raw. Just added maybe one or two surprises, and you're going to find out. So I'm going to go down the list here, and we're going to rattle them off. Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is the WWE Intercontinental Champion. I think him showing up in the Royal Rumble would be huge business because, as far as I'm concerned, this could be a statement Royal Rumble for him. This is a chance for him to really step it up in 2025 and evolve. There is going to be no Bronson Reed. I don't believe there's going to be a Braun Strowman either. Strowman, I think, is hurt again. So as far as like a big man that's going to really, really do some work in the Royal Rumble, I would go with a Braun Breaker showing up. Penta, El Celero, Miedo, or whatever they call him. Maybe it's Penta. Maybe it's Pentagon. I don't know what they're going to go with. King Fuego was rumored to be trademarked around the time that we heard that the Lucha Brothers were going to be showing up. So maybe it's something like that. King Fuego or Penta Fuego. You know, whatever they're going to go by, I would love to see him showing up in the Royal Rumble. I believe he is going to show up, beat Chad Gable, but I also believe that there is potential for him to be a heel. I think that if they go for the Lucha Underground type of Pentagon, I think they would really be doing themselves a favor. So I think that a match with Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania would be huge. So I would think that Penta showing up in the Royal Rumble and having a confrontation with Rey Mysterio Jr. should be a given. So I'm also going to go with Rey Mysterio Jr. Finn Balor, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, John Cena, Roman Reigns, Andrade, Carlito, CM Punk, Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, LA Knight, Karrion Kross, Otis, Tama Tonga, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, R-Truth, Miz, and Sheamus. Let's go down the list just one more time. So, number one, I got Andrade, followed by Braun Breaker, then Carlito, CM Punk, Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, Drew McIntyre, Rey Mysterio, Penta, Finn Balor, Solo Sikoa. Then from NXT, I have Ethan Page coming in as one of the surprises. Jacob Fatu, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, John Cena, Roman Reigns, Logan Paul, LA Knight, Karrion Kross, Otis, the WWE Royal Rumble debut of Tama Tonga, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, who are also going to be debuting or their first Royal Rumble, I guess I should say. They're being in their first Royal Rumble. Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, R-Truth, Miz, and Sheamus. And as I said, the honorable mentions, still would love to see Bully Ray there. Maybe a Mark Henry Royal Rumble return would be awesome. I would love to see Big E make his triumphant return. Jovan Evans to get a Royal Rumble moment. Joe Hendry. There's so many other guys. But like I said, I think they're going to keep it to the core. Logan Paul and LA Knight, they had some history, so they would have a confrontation. I think Otis would get Chad Gable the hell up out of there. I think I had Chad Gable listed. If I didn't have Chad Gable listed, I believe Chad Gable will be in. Otis will throw him out of the Royal Rumble. So I probably would take maybe Sheamus or R-Truth out and put Chad Gable in because I don't think I added him. So I'm going to go ahead and add Chad Gable and maybe take out The Miz. actually. So I'm going to do Chad Gable instead of The Miz. This is live, guys. I'm doing this live. The reason why, because I think every match potential in the Royal Rumble, every story is gonna stretch out through the Royal Rumble, which I think Paul Levesque is attempting to do. So I would say that Otis eliminates Chad Gable. I think you got Sheamus in there. I would say Ludwig Kaiser would play a role, or Pete Dunne would play a role in getting Sheamus up out of there. R-Truth and John Cena are going to have a moment where R-Truth gets to look across the ring at his childhood hero. I think Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, this is going to be their first Royal Rumble. They're going to be in the Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. Indiana is very close to Illinois, where Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin did a lot of their independent wrestling. So I think it's close to like considered like a second home to them. So I think that would be a huge reaction for them. I think Karrion Kross, I struggled with whether or not I was going to add Bo Dallas, or anybody from the Uncle Howdy, or anybody from that group, the Wyatt Six. But I believe we might see Nikki Cross in the Women's Royal Rumble, but we're going to save that for another video. I think in terms of continuing the story of the Final Testament and the Wyatt Six, I think you are going to see some spookiness go on that gets Karrion Kross out of the Royal Rumble. So I think Karrion Kross will be a part of the Royal Rumble, but I think there's going to be some trickery with the Wyatt Six that get them out of there. I think you're going to see like a battle between the Rogue Bloodline and the OG Bloodline again at the Royal Rumble, which I think would be huge. Penta and Rey Mysterio Jr., I think are going to, have their confrontation. Something's going to happen with them. I think Dominic Mysterio might eliminate Finn Balor. So that's something else I think that, you should watch out for, is potential to watch the breakup of the Judgment Day, the implosion of the Judgment Day potentially happening and starting at the Royal Rumble with Dominic eliminating Finn Balor. And can you imagine the pop that Dominic Mysterio would get if he threw Finn Balor over the top rope? I also believe you're going to see some stuff with Andrade. I think he's going to make a big splash and have a great interaction with Logan Paul. So look for that as well. And Jacob Fatu will confront John Cena, Roman Reigns, and I also think he'll have a confrontation with CM Punk. I think this will be the match for Jacob Fatu to really separate himself from the pack. This will be Jacob Fatu's Royal Rumble moment for the first of the year to get him really up the card. I mean, this guy is convincing, believable, and has all of the charisma. Every time I see him talk, I watch. I'm drawn in. He's got something that I don't think really anybody in the WWE or professional wrestling has right now, which is this aura. Like he is captivating. And I think that the WWE should be seeing this as well and doing everything they can to help him to stand out more and to get him further up the card, because the guy's money. And I think they should pull the trigger on him while they still can. There is nobody in professional wrestling like a Jacob Fatu. And the same with Karrion Kross too. I hold those two. It's funny enough, they both came from Major League Wrestling, but both of those guys have something that the WWE can capitalize on in 2025, and hopefully we get a chance to see glimpses of that at the Royal Rumble this year. As far as who's going to win, oh my God. I mean, one of the thoughts that I had before I started this video was that The Rock would show up and win the Royal Rumble. I mean, he would throw Roman Reigns over the top rope and he would win the Royal Rumble, surprisingly, and cash in his WrestleMania ticket to go against Cody Rhodes. And I think that would be like an indication of that would be the simmer that he lulled everybody to sleep by coming out and being just, shareholder Dwayne, only for him to be a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble, knock somebody out, or take Solo and tell Solo to give him the shot, and then he goes out and wins the Royal Rumble. I think that would shock the world. I think it would be, it would be on the front page. It would be talked about for a long time. Nobody would have thought they would have seen that coming, and then cashes in and goes after Cody Rhodes. I think it would be huge. I think it would also cause some in-fight friction between Roman Reigns and CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, and just everybody would be in chaos here in disarray. I think that potentially, based on the lineup, you have it coming down to Roman Reigns, CM Punk, John Cena, Drew McIntyre. I think that right there and Roman Reigns, right? So Roman Reigns, CM Punk, John Cena, Drew McIntyre. I said that, right? Yeah. I think it has a chance to come down with those four. If The Rock is not going to be involved, if he's not going to be a surprise participant, I think you have an opportunity there to get that Final Four. That's an all-star Final Four. I think it comes down, in my opinion, a lot of people have been saying and speculating, and I think I should spend some time speaking on this, is that they believe that we're going to see John Cena against Cody Rhodes. And I just don't see a world where they would main event WrestleMania with their top guy who seemingly is going viral for people's opinions that he should already turn heel, stepping across from his counterpart, right? The parallel, like John Cena was in the same position a decade ago, and now they're going to put him across the ring against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. How polarizing can you get? You're going to have the crowd split. I think it can be a huge moment, but I don't know if it's a WrestleMania moment. I think giving John Cena an opportunity to break the record of holding the most world championships in the WWE this early in the year, when he's got an entire, 7 or 8 months left in the calendar year, I don't know if they should do that. I don't know if they should do that. I wouldn't do that. And I just don't think I would put Cody in a position to be booed at WrestleMania, no less. So I don't know where they got that rumor from. I don't know why people are starting to speculate and be convinced that that's going to happen. Hey, if it happens, it happens. But logically, I'm just having a hard time finding that making a whole lot of sense. I think it makes more sense that you would see CM Punk, it come down to CM Punk and Roman Reigns. And I think Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble. I really do. The only thing that's stopping me from thinking that Roman Reigns wins is that actually CM Punk wins, because there's a favor here. And I think there's a story arc there with that. Now that Roman has the Ulafala, his dominance is going to continue. And I think that he's going to have it. I don't know if you give CM Punk that win over Roman Reigns in the Royal Rumble, because I think you need that opportunity to have CM Punk come in and ask for that favor. So if Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble, then CM Punk can ask Paul Heyman for that favor and get that opportunity to either be in the match at WrestleMania, or to put himself in the Elimination Chamber, or put that championship opportunity on the line, which would cause massive separation between Roman and Paul at that point, because the wise man says to Roman, even though Roman, you won the Royal Rumble, I promised CM Punk a favor. His favor is that you face him at Elimination Chamber and you put that number one contender's Royal Rumble slot on the line. And that's when CM Punk wins. So I'm kind of like trying to figure out how that works. If they don't go deep into the rabbit hole with that, where the favor is the shot at WrestleMania, then I believe CM Punk wins. I believe he wins his first Royal Rumble. So CM Punk, let's just go over this for a second. Since CM Punk has returned, he wrestled at Hell in a Cell, followed by War Games, which I don't know any other superstar that has done that back-to-back months, where they wrestled a Hell in a Cell match and then they wrestled at War Games. He is breaking records left and right, being the first superstar, along with Seth Rollins, to main event one of the biggest Raws in the history of Monday Night Raw, with its debut on Netflix, breaking all kinds of records. So, I mean, this is his year. This is CM Punk's year. Whether he wants it to be or not, the machine is going to get behind CM Punk here and give him that opportunity. So I believe you put CM Punk in a situation where he wins the Royal Rumble and goes to WrestleMania to main event WrestleMania for the first time ever. And that's the story. And I think Seth Rollins tries to play interrupter of that story, because I believe CM Punk toys with going after Cody or Gunther. And that's when I believe Seth Rollins plays the interrupter. Maybe Gunther puts his championship on the line at Elimination Chamber and Seth Rollins wins that, which leads to Punk Rollins 2 at WrestleMania, because Seth Rollins has beaten Gunther, but in an Elimination Chamber setting. And I think I think how we get there is going to be important, but it's possible, again, I'm fantasy cooking here, but I think it's possible that it's Seth Rollins that comes out of the Elimination Chamber as the champion that leads to CM Punk and Seth Rollins. And then later we can, because Seth Rollins, if that's the case, if that's the story, Seth Rollins wins. He is the one that crushes CM Punk's hopes at WrestleMania. So WrestleMania main event for CM Punk, yes. A celebration at WrestleMania? No. Seth Rollins wins that. And then that is when CM Punk possibly goes in to cash in that favor. There's a lot that you can do here. And that's what I love about what the WWE has right now. They have so many options at their arsenal that they can play with. So many different routes that they can go to. So many potential matchups. So many fresh ideas. So many great main events that they have that they can utilize. They're basically just going to stick around, like step back and just see what works and how they can shock the audience more. So it's funny because it gets my creative ideas, my juices flowing, where I'm trying to come up with things that are out of the box ideas or off the wall ideas, intricate thought, like deep thought ideas to see if they can bridge these stories and make them make sense. But there's like intertwining stories abound in the WWE, and they can go so many different routes. But as it stands right now, my prediction is CM Punk, and at the back of my mind, I'm going to think of Roman Reigns as well. And I'm also going to think of The Rock, because I think The Rock is that wild card where we have no idea he's going to show up in the Royal Rumble, and then suddenly, if you smell, and he shows up, and the crowd would go fucking crazy. They would go crazy. So that's my prediction of the entrants in the 2025 Royal Rumble. I sped through them, but I said them twice. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on it because I wanted to spend more time just kind of going over these ideas and these bullet points of what I think might happen and how these stories will continue through the thread of the Royal Rumble. But what do you guys think? Did I get that close? Are we going to see these participants in the Royal Rumble? I'm going to have these notes sitting with me while I watch the Royal Rumble February 1st from Lucas Oil Stadium, and I'm going to see how close I got. Are you going to have a list of entrants that you think are possibly going to show up? And who is your favorite to win the 2025 Royal Rumble to go to WrestleMania to face the champ? You guys let me know in the comments. Thumbs up on the way out. And if you're looking for more Wrestling Old Head content, hit that thumbs up for notification, because you never know when I'm going to drop another video. So as always, stay tuned for more.